It's Hump Day. You know what that means. Time for the Southern California Writers Association Hump Day Book Tour. I'm your host, Maddie Margarita, here with Diana Pardee, our tech wizard. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., the Southern California Writers Association turns our Facebook page over to a new author to talk about their books. So grab a cup of coffee, take a break, and join us in welcoming Joe Clifford. After spending the 1990s as a homeless heroin addict in San Francisco, Joe got off the streets and turned his life around. He earned his MFA from Florida International University in 2008 before returning to the Bay Area, where he currently lives with his wife and two sons, who Joe assures me are not duct taped to the side of the wall during this interview. His autobiographical novel, Junkie Love, chronicles his battle with drugs and was published by Battered Suitcase. His best-selling J. Porter thriller series has received rave reviews from Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, and the San Francisco Chronicle, among many others. And his latest, The Shadow People, is currently available for pre-order. So welcome, Joe.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, how are things up in the Bay Area?
Probably the same as down there. I mean, we're kind of still quarantined, and we definitely do things. That's the Pomeranian. She's going to bark like crazy any second, so you're going to have good luck editing that out. Yeah, I mean, we're just waiting for the world to reopen. California, the Bay Area tends to be a little more on the cautionary side. So yeah. Texas is opening up everything, and we still, can't eat in a restaurant.
Yeah, well, for you, because I follow you, but not in a stalkerish way. I assure you. You have been really busy over the pandemic. Aside from, trying to raise two boys, you also have done a lot of writing over this period.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say my life has changed all that much. I mean, I'm not a people person, so having the excuse to not see them has been pretty nice.
You don't have to explain anything. People just totally get it, right?
I golf, and and the golf course, is open. The country club I belong to is about 2 minutes down the street. So, my life hasn't changed all that much. I mean, I miss the conferences mostly. I mean, I'm gonna hate not being able to go to Thriller Fest or Left Coast. And as we were talking earlier, BoucherCon is, I'll be surprised if that goes through. I'm signed out by my room, but I'll be shocked if I actually get to see people. And I do miss that. It's a chance to connect with the community and stay in touch and network and see what's going on. And like I said, I'm in the process of getting a new agent. So these are things you can do when you're at a conference. Over cocktails and French fries at 2 a.m. It's a little easier than over email with without a face and a name. And that kind of thing.
Well, and you have The Shadow People coming out, which I was reading the blurb. It sounded very cool. It has a really interesting vibe. And as we were talking before earlier about the genre, and I know you do a lot of editing. So from your perspective, how would you classify The Shadow People? And then as an author, how important is it to actually put a book into a genre, or is it?
When we announced that the sale of The Shadow People, we were immediately contacted by Sam Raimi's film company because they wanted to take a look at it because it sounded like it was horror. It's not horror. I've always enjoyed, you can see the guitar in the background. I've always enjoyed music that sort of flirts and blurs lines between genre, your alt country or cow punk, that kind of thing. And I do the same thing with writing. So this has a touch of horror, touch of noir, touch of literary, thriller, all the things that sort of infuriates an agent, maybe in a bookstore. People like, and they're not wrong. I mean, these are archetypes. We've been telling these stories since we've been able to talk, right? I mean, like right on walls, we tell stories, and every story sort of fits into a mold. And when a reader goes into a story, if your story is a domestic suspense thriller, you can't have all of a sudden elements of a Western pop in on page 80, because it freaks them out. It throws them out of the world of artifice that we've created, and that's understandable. So if you're going to blur lines, you have to be careful how you blur them. I learned this, probably the biggest example was with my first novel, the widely underread Wake the Undertaker, which I think 6 people read, and you can find for now $897 on Amazon. It's out of print, but I took all these things I loved. Like I love Rocky, I love Casablanca, I love Sin City the movie, I love noir writing, I love Chandler and Hammett and Marlowe, and so I took all these elements that I really love, and I threw them all together in a book. And part of the reason it failed, I think, was because I didn't know genre. I didn't adhere to the rules. There's things that you have to do, and there's things you can't do, and you hear this stuff with writing all the time. There are no rules, and rules are meant to be broken. And that's nice to say. It's adorable. It's also disingenuous. It's like telling people to write for yourself. It's a soundbite. It sounds terrific. Write for yourself. Well, if you write for yourself, what's going to happen? You're going to have a chapbook. You're going to have 6 people read it. You're going to have your mom be a big fan, and it's not going to sell. You can't write for yourself. You write for an audience. It's a give and take process, and that doesn't mean you're disingenuous. Doesn't mean you are phony or placating or trying to catch the wave of what the next big thing is. You have to be true to yourself. You have to have your own voice. You have to be honest, and if you're not, it's going to come across, and readers will sniff that out before anything. At the same time, you can't just write what you feel like. Like there are rules to adhere to, and balancing that, especially if you're in an iconoclast or you come from that kind of a background, which I do, and understand that you're now working with configuration, a mold that you have to at least recognize and respect, and find a way to operate within those two things. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. And it's interesting that you went from being everything to Junkie Love, which was very specific and very personal and very genuine and authentic, like you said. What kind of experience was that, writing an autobiography that was personal? Because I did read it, and the voice is something I highly recommend it. The voice is like something you probably have never read before. It's gritty and raw and honest and so readable, but yet so literary sounding. I mean, literary not in like that stilted, snobby way, but literary in the way that you hope that it's literary.
I will now pull a Walt Whitman and contradict everything. I contradict myself because I contain multitudes. Everything I just said not to do, I did with Junkie Love. Junkie Love was the one book where I just did whatever the hell I wanted, and I wrote it the way I wanted to write it, and I got a lot of rejections for it. The original version of Junkie Love, how far it came to show you that I actually, I'm being somewhat facetious, is the original Junkie Love was centered around 6 tiny monkeys the size of field mice who were traveling through time on a mission to kill God. And all these Junkie Love like vignettes were interspersed in there. And there were weird asides about my time as an ice cream man. There was just a bunch of weird stuff. The monkey slept in walnut shell. It was completely batshit insane. I just got off the streets 10 years of doing a massive amount of drugs, and I was in a long-term rehab facility with nothing to do besides mac on girls and try to woo them with Skittles and cigarettes and write this book. And so that first attempt is so out there, and I would send it around, and the rejections I got for that are fantastic. I keep a log of those, just like, you can go back on the drugs, kid. So what I did was I learned how to write by going when I went to FIU, and so after learning structure and story and archetype, all the Joe Campbell and Christopher Vogler stuff, I then went back to Junkie Love, and I realized the part that people gave a shit about was I should have asked you if I can swear. Can I swear?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Be expressive.
Every time I stop talking is because I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't be swearing. I learned how to tell the story. So what I did is I went back and I implemented all those techniques I learned, and I got rid of the stuff people aren't interested in, the stuff that I found cute and adorable, about the tiny Bird Street parade and all this weird stuff. And I got rid of that shit because nobody wants to read that stuff. That's just precious author stuff. I kept the things that people seemed engrossed by, which was the story of Hepatitis Heights and the actual drug addiction and the clashes with the police and the really harrowing stuff. And then I kind of spackled in and created this non-linear, you know, all these vignettes connected non-linear in time, trying to mirror the addict's psyche and whatnot. I also didn't know how to tell a linear story, so that worked out well. And it worked. I don't think I could recreate Junkie Love. It's a little frustrating, and I kind of feel. I mean, I don't want to compare myself to, you know, somebody who's great, but you hear all the time. My friend Mike TV from the band Get Set Go has an album, Ordinary World. He had a couple songs from there featured on Grey's Anatomy. It's a great record. And we talk about this, how no matter what he did that 2004 or something like that, no matter what he has done since, they always are like, yeah, but Ordinary World. No matter what I write, I was just on Twitter the other day, I was like, yeah, you know, I really wish you write another Junkie Love. Well, I fucking can't. I already did all the drugs. I don't have any veins left. I just had to get a back surgery. It took them 11 pokes to try to find a place to stick an IV in me, because, you know, my body's shot. Like I don't have another run, guys. I can't go out there and almost kill myself and give you another Junkie Love. I wish I could. It was a lot of fun. Not really. But yeah, so it's just hard when there's nothing you can do that's going to ever beat your own kind of record. And I think I've written books that are better than Junkie Love. I think I've written books that have stronger plots, stronger characters. There's deeper, the ethos and pathos and logos and all that crap you learn in grad school. And it's more profound and it's more expertly rendered. And people just don't give a shit. They want Junkie Love again, which is awesome. It's an awesome problem to have. I'm not complaining. I mean, I'm complaining because all I'd ever do is complain. But it's a great problem to have, right? Like, I mean, it's something that registers. I get emails every week. I got a couple days ago from 2 different people like, hey, I found this in prison. I read it. It really helped me, really changed my life. And I say this, without being, glib or facetious in any way. That stuff means more than the money I don't get, because, I gotta feel as though I was spared, I mean, not to get out God and religion stuff, but I got to believe I was spared some pretty horrible fates. There's people out there with lots of diseases and, not me, didn't get it, so, and I'm walking here and I can't believe I'm that lucky. And so when you escape that sort of death grip and you're granted a second chance, you have to do something with that. And knowing that my little book like made a difference in even one person's like sobriety or, getting off heroin. I don't like the word sobriety. I mean, there's different ways to go about getting off heroin. I certainly still enjoy a good small batch IPA. But yeah, I mean, it's awesome.
Well, I think it's just such a compelling story because it's hard to believe, talking to you today, how articulate you are and how centered you sound. It's hard to believe that you did that.
I feel like I sound like I have brain damage. I really do. When I talk, I'm like, God, you sound like a fucking moron. I got like tongue-tied and like, but good. I'm glad I come across as.
No, you do. And I think, I've read a couple of your other books since that, and I have not had a chance to read The Shadow People, but I referred to the blurb a little bit. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
The Shadow People, and talking about audience and giving people what they want while still being true. In a way, The Shadow People, much like book 4 of the Jay Porter series, oddly enough, are sort of sister novels to Junkie Love, in that they explore addiction in a different way. This time it's viewed through the lens of the straight man, Brandon Cossie, a 23-year-old college student who doesn't understand the world of drugs, but he has a friend who is a paranoid schizophrenic. My first wife was a paranoid schizophrenic. She'd argue with those terms. It was schizoaffective tendency due to methamphetamine, but she was schizophrenic. And schizophrenia is a strange disease. The guitar player for my first band had it, and I'm intimately acquainted with the symptoms of that. And so I wanted to do what I wanted was a novel where you have a paranoid schizophrenic who has maybe done too much meth, who is just got all these wacky conspiracy theories, and he just happens to hit on one that's correct, and then he's gone, he's killed, he dies, and the friend who hasn't seen in years, Brandon, goes back and tries to find out what happens. That's a quick, short version, but it allows me to look at drug addiction and the impact it has on people and friends and family, and how one of my favorite sayings, you read Junkie Love, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you. If you're being filed by the DEA and they're spotting and the DEA knocks on your door, it's kind of a mind fuck. And yeah, so I like that. And so that's what the Shadow People explores.
Well, I think hopefully we've had a chance in this short time to give people the concept or the idea that if you read a book written by Joe Clifford, that you are in for a ride, and it will be not written like any other book that you've ever read. I think that's really fair to say. Like I said, it's full of contradictions. Even though the stories are great, the contradiction in reading these stories and the voice, is just, it's enthralling. I mean, I couldn't, not, when I read the Jay Porter book, I couldn't even put it down. So I highly recommend everybody, if you get a chance to buy one of Joe's books, please do so, so he can untape his kids from the wall. And hopefully you'll let us know when when is that coming out?
It's coming out in June, and if you can't afford the book, just email me and I'll send you a free copy. I'm so sick of these free downloading sites. Really, I'm happy to send a free book to somebody who wants to read one and can't afford it. I'm easy to find.
All right. Well, that's really generous of you. And if you do read it and you can't afford it and you read it in the library, authors appreciate reviews as much as buying books. So is that right? Almost. But
just black holes of need.
But reviews are appreciated. I want to thank you, Joe. I want to wish you the best of luck with the book, and hopefully I'll see you in New Orleans at BoucherCon.
I hope so. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, if you enjoyed today's event and you'd like to see more book shots like this, you can find it on the SCWA Facebook page, or you can look online on our YouTube page on SCWA Writers Online. So until next week, we hope that you'll stay safe, and Joe will be checking in occasionally on comments and questions. So please feel free to leave your comments and questions in the Facebook page. Okay. See you soon.
We'll see you.
Bye. Thanks, Joe.